I'm going to do my best to talk about this movie without saying the word society. It's going to be pretty hard, but I think I can do it.
Murray, one small thing.
Yeah.
When you bring me out, can you introduce me as
Joker, baby?
So, I just saw Joker, and I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of high hopes for this movie. Joker's not like my favorite supervillain or anything, and I was a little bit concerned with Todd Phillips, the director, and his previous works, but I knew that Joaquin Phoenix is an amazing actor, and he puts a lot of care into choosing his roles, so I had a lot of faith there, and I am happy to say that I'm not disappointed. Joker, not the Joker, I keep messing it up, is a very interesting character study of a man who struggles with mental health issues, and when pushed to the brink by the people and the culture around him, he begins to act out in violent ways, manifesting in him becoming the Joker as we know him. This movie isn't like most other superhero movies out today. I would say it's unlike pretty much anything else we've ever seen before, and I personally love that. With all this talk about superhero oversaturation, I think that the movie industry needs to evolve the concept of comic book movies if we want the genre to continue and succeed. And I think that Joker is the right kind of step in that direction. Now, I don't love the movie. I think that it's a little bit by the numbers, and it's more or less just Todd Phillips making Taxi Driver with Joker's name slapped onto it. He kind of said that himself. But I think that Joaquin Phoenix did an amazing job. The movie is gorgeous, and it inspires a lot of conversation about the movie itself or as us as a culture. And that's the thing, the conversation around this movie. There's been a lot of controversy around the Joker, and specifically regarding violence and how it can quote-unquote inspire violent acts.
We do have a warning this morning from the U.S. military about the new Joker movie.
Hollywood's latest comic book movie is facing a backlash for glorifying violent acts.
Joker movie everyone's freaking out about.
And then let's talk about Joaquin Phoenix and the new Joker movie.
What do you have to say to some people who say they're a little concerned that the Joker might be too sympathetic of a character, this homicidal loner?
Most of that controversy happening before the movie even came out. And that's the thing I really want to talk about today. I admit I engaged in those kinds of discussions. When the trailer came out, I wasn't so much concerned about violence and the inspiration of violence, but more so the movie could have given more fuel to that kind of we live in a society type of person. You know, the kind of person who thinks that Rick Sanchez or BoJack Horseman are role models and people to live up to and stuff like that. But as the movie approached release, the topic of violence became more and more like the main subject. And in my opinion, as someone who's honestly kind of sensitive to those topics, the movie really does not paint that kind of picture. First off, the violence here is no more violent than any standard crime or action movie. And in fact, movies like John Wick or even the Marvel movies glorify those kinds of violence a lot more. Joker paints its violence in a more horrific light, where yes, you tend to sympathize with Arthur as a character, but the things that he does are always treated in a disturbing way to the point where it's obviously not condoning it. Somewhat off topic, but I rewatched The Matrix recently for the 20th anniversary. I watched it in theaters in the Dolby screening, which if you haven't seen a movie in Dolby, it's the best way to watch a fucking movie, oh my god. That movie provides more of a quote-unquote valid reason to kill innocents, because it has the whole, if they're not one of us, then they're the enemy thing.
You look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
There's even a scene where the main characters go to a security checkpoint with trench coats on and they shoot up all the guards. If there was any movie to potentially inspire that in troubled people, it would be that movie, but that didn't happen. There wasn't any conversation about that when the movie came out. Nobody killed anybody saying that they did it because they thought they were in the Matrix or anything like that. I'm not saying that violent media has no effect on people. I do think that there's some kind of impact, not so much on just seeing the violence, but I think that the reasoning behind the violence is the thing that's more concerning, but that's a whole other topic for a whole other time. However, the conversation never brings up that movie, since that movie didn't seem to inspire any kind of violence. Same with American Psycho or any other type of movie where the main character commits acts of crime or violence. So the fact that the movie Joker is such a hot topic regarding it kind of interests me, since the actual movie itself doesn't really warrant this kind of controversy. And this reminds me of another superhero movie that had a lot of conversation around it before release. Another movie that was review bombed on Rotten Tomatoes and had people talking about the politics of it, and that's Captain Marvel. Now, I didn't really like Captain Marvel. I didn't care for it so much as a film. I thought that the character was pretty bland, and the story just didn't really engage me very much. The best part of it was Nick Fury, and I don't think it's a great sign that Marvel's first female-led superhero movie, she was overshadowed by the male counterpart. But I digress, I'm not here to review that movie. Instead, I want to remind everybody about the quote-unquote controversy that surrounded it before release. Now, it's not the exact same as Joker, since the people who have a problem with Joker have actual valid concerns about violence in people's lives, where the people who had a problem with Captain Marvel before it came out were more just just didn't like Brie Larson, or just didn't like having a female superhero, or didn't like having the politics of feminism put into a superhero movie.
The feminists are taking over. I'm an adult virgin.
But they're not completely different, and I want you to hear me out on this. Before Captain Marvel's release, there was a lot of talk about the female empowerment that was present in the movie, and how it was such a feminist work that white men shouldn't even be bothered to go see it, because it's not for them. Now, disregarding the fact that that's kind of just a stupid thing to say, let's go with it. We as an audience were led to believe that Captain Marvel would be this incredibly political and empowering movie for women that tackled serious issues of sexism, and then the movie came out, and it wasn't there. I personally am someone who wants politics in superhero media. People hate me for it, but I live for that kind of shit. Superheroes are characters that are very accessible to everybody, you know, being it children, adults, anybody. And therefore, if there's a message that the creators want to convey to that large audience, then I think it's their responsibility to do that. So I was looking forward to see Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck's take on these very important issues of sexism, and I couldn't find it. The most political that Captain Marvel gets is that it has these implications of sexism with some very subtle messaging about what it's like to be a woman surrounded by men. But those messages are so incredibly subtle that if I wasn't looking for them, I probably wouldn't have found them. I suppose the Kree were meant to be symbolic of a male-dominated culture, and Carol working with them supposed to represent living in a man's world, but it's all toppled by the existence of Gemma Chan's character, whose name I don't remember, who is a female Kree and is treated with the same level of respect as the other males are. And because of that, it doesn't necessarily feel like a gender problem, but more of just a species problem of humans and Kree, if that makes sense. If I hadn't been told by Marvel and Brie Larson and everybody that the movie was a feminist piece before I saw the movie, then I wouldn't have even noticed anything, and I would have thought it was just another Marvel movie. The controversy and conversation surrounding the movie before it released proved to be more or less entirely unnecessary. And that's how I feel about Joker. Nothing about the movie felt like it could inspire anything in anybody. It didn't make us root for him when he did violent acts, it made us want him to get better and not become the madman that we knew he'd become, while also making us scared of him while he did those terrible things. The movie wasn't even that violent. He only kills 6 people, or 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He only kills like 7 people in it, and that's being generous, which sounds like a lot, but for the Joker, that's nothing. I expected him to kill the entire audience of that talk show, when in reality he just killed the one guy. Instead, there are more important topics and conversations that the movie wants to discuss. Joker is not a story about a violent man trying to inspire violence in the masses. It's the story of a man who suffers from severe mental and physical trauma, living in a city where he feels abandoned and forgotten about because of the social divide between the classes, which leads to him seeking retribution. The issues of mental health and the ever-growing divide between the rich and the poor are serious conversations that the movie wants us to talk about. It wants us to question how we treat those with mental illness and how funding gets cut to the services that help those people. It wants us to question whether or not we should do the easy thing and just let people who are suffering be, or if we should do the thing that is the hard thing and step in and try and help them. These conversation points are so important to us today, but they're getting overshadowed by this manufactured controversy that has no real weight or meaning in the long run. Joker is unlike any kind of superhero movie that I've ever seen. I don't love it. I don't think it's the best. I like it, but I don't love it. But I don't have to love it, because I think it's really important. Not only does it take itself seriously as a movie with great cinematography, great performances, and it expects us to as well, but it also makes us ask questions about ourselves and our community that we may not necessarily be comfortable with. And I think that's a really important thing that cinema should be doing. We can't just be sitting blankly at a screen watching Iron Man and Hulk fight it out. We really need to be questioning ourselves and us as a culture. And that's what Joker does, and I think that's so amazing. And because of Joker, I can officially, definitively say that we do, in fact, live in a society. I'm stupid. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. This has been a little review kind of discussion about Joker, because I think it's important to talk about. I think there's a lot of stuff worth talking about this movie that I didn't even bring up, like the stuff about the unreliable narrator and stuff. That's a whole other thing. I won't get into that right now. If you liked the video, hit that like button if you liked it. If you didn't like it, don't hit the dislike button, but if you really want to hit the dislike button, I get it. You do you. If you're new here and you like this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, maybe ring that notification bell if you don't want to miss any future updates. YouTube likes to not put my videos in the subscription feeds of people for some reason, so that's fun. This video is probably going to get demonetized, let's be real, because I'm talking about mental illness. Of course it's going to get demonetized. If you want to support me, I would really appreciate it if you head to my Patreon. I've got early videos, scripts, audio files, behind the scenes content, and more. So go ahead, check that out if you're interested in supporting me. I've got merchandise also. It kind of sucks, but I think it's kind of cool. Anyway, I think that's all I had to say. So with that said, this has been Troyoboyo17 coming at you live with another fanboy review, and I'll see you around. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye-bye.